At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey everyone, John Grills from the Creepy Podcast here. I want to recommend a show to our Bloody FM listeners. It's called Scaredycast, a weekly podcast hosted by Kelsey, Brian, and Tony. It's a comedy discussion show about all things frightening, from cryptids and UFOs to the occasional Florida man story. They also conduct their own paranormal investigations and even interview some celebrity guests, including their recent interviews with Finn Wolfhard, Fred Heckinger, and Billy Brick about the new movie Hell of a Summer. New episodes drop every Monday and can be followed on your favorite social media app. So dig into their back catalog of almost 300 Scaredycast episodes today, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to Scare You to Sleep. I'm your host, Shelby Novak, and I'm here to read you some dark, weird, and gross tales I've found around the website reddit.com. For the first section of this episode, I have a little theme. Let me explain. For my other show, the Bloody Disgusting Podcast, you may have heard me mention it, I've had the homework of rewatching the entirety of the Final Destination franchise. So the idea of gut feelings has been on my mind. Of course, in the movies, they're these big, dramatic premonitions, and as most of you know, death is inescapable for the characters of those movies. But it got me thinking, have you ever had a moment where listening to an inexplicable instinct, a nagging voice, raised hackles, whatever you'd call it, saved you from a horrible situation? Well, a few of these Reddit users had that feeling, and boy, am I glad they listened to it. First, let's examine the importance of teaching your kids about stranger danger. This first one is from AmBam3434. My brother and I were kids, playing hide and seek in the front yard of our house. My brother was 3 and I was 6. My brother was supposed to be counting and finding me, but he was taking forever, so I peeked around the side of the house to see what was taking so long. He had lost interest in the game and was standing near the front gate, which led to the street. As I'm looking, I can see a brown car pull up with 2 men inside. The car wasn't familiar, and neither were the men. They both got out of the car and approached my brother. They started asking him questions and moving closer to him. I remember feeling panicked. I had learned about stranger danger in school and knew this wasn't right. I ran around the side of the house, flew through the back door, and screamed, "Someone is trying to kidnap Steve!" My dad didn't hesitate. He got up and flew through the front door. When the men saw my dad coming through the door, they bolted and peeled out. From that day forward, we weren't allowed to play in the front yard anymore. It's a really scary memory for me. And the next story by Chateau Delay. We were learning about stranger danger in school, and my father was in law enforcement, so we were well versed and warned. One day I was walking home from school, 54 degrees, this was the 1970s, when kids all walked to school, and a car stopped to try to lure me in. It circled the block a few times, and I refused. As a kid, I thought my dad was testing me, so when I got home, I said to him, "Did I pass the test?" He looked at me strangely. I told him The people he hired to try to get me in the car weren't successful, and he couldn't fool me. He turned white as a sheet and had me describe the car and details of what happened a few times. And he drove me and my sisters to school every day after that incident. This is from Willowed Wisp. Does an I need to go home now feeling count? And it wasn't me, but my mom. Anyway, I was around 12 or so, and my mom left to run an errand, leaving me alone. Very soon after she left, the doorbell rang. This was weird because we lived on a hill with only 2 neighbors. We all kept to ourselves. And we just didn't get random visitors. Thanks to some conveniently placed picture frames, I could see out the door without being seen. I look out and see a young man I don't recognize. He's dressed in a t-shirt and jeans, and something just feels off. So, I ignore him and wait for him to leave. But he doesn't. He lingers and starts smoking. Again, this is an isolated hill. I'm alone, and now I'm getting scared. I go and hide and plan to wait for my mom, except she just left. Had a few errands to run, and I couldn't reach the phone without the guy seeing me. As I'm trying to figure out what to do, my mom comes home. She runs in and asks if I'm okay. Apparently, she got this random go home now urge. She hadn't even run her first errand yet, but turned around immediately, found the guy in our yard, and asked what he needed. I guess he muttered something about looking for someone or something to that effect, and my mom told him to leave. Apparently, he was acting very strangely and made my mom nervous. To this day, I have no idea what he wanted, and no idea how my mom knew to come home, but I am very grateful she did. By the way, I kind of jumped into this one without explaining. I usually go over what subreddit and the title and everything. I'm so sorry. I realize I didn't do that, but this is from the subreddit Ask Reddit, and it was posted a year ago, and the question was, what was the scariest we need to leave ... now gut feeling you've ever experienced? So that's what most of these are from. By the way, I post the links in the show notes to these threads. A lot of them have thousands of answers, so if you ever want to explore any of these topics on your own, I highly recommend it, because there are so many that are so entertaining. And on to the next. This is from the same one, by the way. This is from Lavender Acid. Me and my little sister went camping in the woods, very close to our house when we were kids. We'd seen this bald guy with a blue shirt and a dog walking around, which isn't unusual for the area. You'll often see people walking and say hello. For some reason, though, I just got this tight feeling in my chest. And my sister must have too, because we both gave each other this look. I don't know what it was that made me do it. This is very out of character for me. But I took a photo of the back of him as he was walking away. A while later, we see the same guy again near the lake. He comes over and asks about the tent we're carrying, where we'll be setting up, and are we camping with our dad? We say, yes, we're just going to see him now. A lie. We must have had the same moment of psychicness, because we walked off up a fork in the path until we were out of view, then looked at each other and jumped down a path hidden by the bushes and waited behind them on the parallel trail for a bit. The guy watched us walk off, pretended to play with his dog until he couldn't see us, then turned around and ran up the path after us. Thankfully, he didn't see us hidden and carried on up straight where he thought we'd gone. We decided camping was a bad idea and went home. That evening, my mom shows us a post in the local residents group, which is a picture of the same bald guy trying to break into someone's house. Apparently, he'd just been walking around trying people's front doors and claiming to be a repair guy when he was stopped. I dread to fucking think what his intentions were, but it was very lucky me and my sister knew those woods so well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have thought to go down one of the hidden paths. These stories are so terrifying. I remember one time when I was, I don't know how old I was. It was probably 11, maybe 12, if that. And I was at a store, like at a mall with my mom. And we were somewhere else. We were like visiting family in a different city because where I was from at that time, we didn't have a mall. It was too small to have a mall. They have a mall now. Good for you guys. But we didn't at the time. So we were at this mall and I remember we were in the body shop. I don't think those even exist anymore. I think they're all closed, but it was, for those who don't know, it was kind of like a Bath and Body Works, but fancier. Like it had like body washes and stuff like that. And I was away from my mom, probably smelling stuff, hand lotion or whatever. And this man came in and he like saw me through the glass. I saw him see me through, it's a mall. So like through the glass, and he came in and he was older. And looking back now, he must have been maybe about 30s, maybe in his late 20s or maybe mid 30s. I don't know. It's kind of hard to gauge, and it's been so long. But I remember he smiled at me, and I remember I was at that age where I was, wanting to feel more grown up than I was, and I think I would like maybe started wearing a little bit of makeup and stuff. And I remember just feeling like, oh my God, this older guy is like smiling at me. And I felt so like grown up about it. And I smiled back at him, and he kind of started to move towards me. And he was clearly like trying to like, I guess, lure me. He was like, I think he like gestured at me. He was trying to get me to come over. And then he started moving towards me when I didn't move towards him. And my mom didn't notice this. I don't think I ever even told her about this. But he was like, looking back, he was clearly like a super creep. He was like leering at me. It was very lascivious. And like, I was young and was just like, wow, I'm like so grown up that even grown up men think I'm pretty. Like so stupid, because kids are stupid. They just don't know better. And my mom walked up at that moment, and I remember he like hightailed it, like turned and ran, like made a scared face and like turned and ran. And I just like, it took me a little while to put together what had happened. But I think I remember in like the car or like walking through the mall, I remember like piecing together what had happened, because it was like a gut instinct of like, this isn't right. Initially, of course, I thought it was like, oh my God. But as the interaction went on, it did feel like not good. Again, he like tried to get me to come over and I didn't, so he started moving towards me. Again, this has been a very long time, so I don't remember all the exact details. I can still see him though. Like I still see exactly what he looked like. I could like pick him out of a lineup even today. I mean, he wouldn't look the same today, but if this was happening somehow in some sort of time slip, I could pick him out of a lineup. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. I've had a really long week. Yeah, it's these stories just like brought back that memory. I haven't thought about that in years. And that was, I thought about it for years after that. I remember it really stuck with me. And I think it's because of something like this, where it's like afterwards I realized how dangerous that situation really, really was. Because I looked 11 years old. I did not look older than I was, even as much as I wished I did at the time, as much as I thought I did because I had lip gloss on or whatever. So yeah, that was a very bad situation. And okay, just on to the next. That was the last of the child maybe abduction stories, by the way. So we're moving on to a different types of gut feelings. Don't worry, it's not all stranger danger this whole episode. So this one is from Matrix Virus. I was at a family gathering, basically a reunion, but just for family within reasonable driving distance, probably 30 people altogether. It was at a county park on a small lake with some grills and buildings, just an empty hall with some picnic tables inside. You could rent for this kind of stuff. The sky started darkening as a storm was approaching. All the coolers, chairs, balls, and other kids' toys, etc., were brought into the building anticipating the rain. The plan was to wait it out, since afternoon showers are common just about every day in the summer. Something in the air didn't feel or smell right, even though it appeared to be just a regular afternoon storm. Hair on my neck was standing up, and I was in full flight mode. Can't really describe it. The feeling in the pit of my stomach can only be described as absolute dread. I told my wife to take my daughter and get into the car. My brother-in-law took one look at my face and said, "What's wrong?" Apparently, I was white as a ghost. It wasn't even raining yet, and I was full-on panic yelling for everyone to leave. Something isn't right. No one else was that worried, mostly concerned with how I was acting. I went out to the car, and as soon as I was about to turn the key, the tornado sirens went off. We were not far from wherever they put those, or they are just stupidly loud because it was deafeningly loud. Now, the rest of the family is pouring out of the building to their cars, kids crying, and I look across the lake maybe a few miles in the distance and see a funnel cloud. Got the hell out of there, as did everyone else. The building we had rented for this family barbecue thing was completely annihilated. Literally just a slab of concrete and a shit ton of debris all around. It was hit dead on by an EF3. I loved this story. It's terrifying. I did have to look up the scale of tornadoes. I am not from tornado country, and maybe for some of my listeners who aren't either, an EF3 is like smack dab in the middle of the 6 categories of tornadoes. So we all learned something today, or some of you are like, I knew that. But an EF3 is considered strong with severe damage, like entire stories of homes destroyed or severe damage to large buildings. That is according to Google. The more you know. And our next gut feeling is by Odd Llama 800. Wednesday midday run along a beautiful river pathway near my apartment block. About 1 kilometer in, I felt people watching me and directly turned around and ran home, even though I did not see anybody. Closed the 2 magnetic gates leading up to my door and didn't see anybody around or follow me. About 10 minutes later, 2 guys were at my front door trying to push it in. I was luckily on the other side of the door at that moment and pushed it back closed with all my force and began screaming. I managed to security lock the front door and text my apartment block for help. I was on the 2nd floor, and they obviously watched which apartment I went into. Looking back at the apartment security cameras, they were able to see the 2 guys pull apart the magnetic security gates, 2 of them. The block then quickly changed the gates to a mechanical lock that cannot be pulled apart. Ugh, that's horrifying. But again, this phenomenon of our gut instincts, like you don't see anyone. It could be just minuscule little changes in the atmosphere, or maybe you do see something that you're not conscious of. You know, I don't know what it is, but this whole thing is just so fascinating to me. I mean, so many people, almost everyone has a sort of story like this, you know, and that's what's so interesting about it. Here's another one. This is from Drawn and Quarter. I stopped by a friend's house to watch a ball game. He, his wife, and I were just relaxing, and someone knocked on the door. It was the middle of the afternoon. He opened it up. He was expecting others might come by also. I hear him greeting someone. The guy was his brother I had never met, but had heard about. Very sketchy-looking guy, meth teeth, scrawny, long, greasy hair. My friend had told me that he had a brother who lived in the area who had a serious drug problem. Buddy is talking to his brother about nothing, and the guy gets a call on his cell. Whoever called, all he told them was, "Not yet, I'll call you later." Seems pretty obvious. This guy has come to rob and, most likely, to take out witnesses. I look at my buddy. It seems he has come to the same conclusion. Now, my buddy's wife is a no-nonsense type of woman. Sweet, but athletic, on the tall side. She had left the room to go to the bathroom, or so she said. She comes back in the room with a handgun. I'm thinking, what the fuck did I walk into? But she calmly says, Ron, you're strung out and came here with bad intentions. You need to quietly leave. If you get any ideas, Chris, their son, is sitting outside in his truck to make sure you go." Ron doesn't say a word. He just turns and goes out the door. We can hear his old pickup truck drive away rapidly. Chris comes in and says, "He's gone. I don't think he's coming back." They ask me to leave so they can decide what to do. They have already called the police, who are well acquainted with Ron. The next morning, my buddy calls me. The police say they found his brother in the trailer park where he lived, murdered with multiple gunshots. They are guessing he was in serious drug debt and had come to rob his brother. I told my buddy I was sorry. He said, "Don't be." This next one is from Adler 221. I was 12 at the time, and my favorite thing in the world was spending the night at my grandma's house. We lived in the sticks at the time, and my grandma lived closer to the nearest town. Thursday night was grandma's night. I felt something off one Thursday night and asked my mom if I could just stay home with my mom and dad. They reluctantly agreed. I went home, watched some TV, and went to bed. My bedroom was on the adjoining wall to the living room. I wasn't really asleep, but I heard my mom keep saying my dad's name over and over again with a hint of panic. I sneak out to the living room, and my dad is on the couch with his head tilted back, snoring really loud, which wasn't uncommon, but my mom was beside him, shaking him and telling him to wake up. She yelled at me to go back to bed. I didn't, obviously. I snuck to their bedroom to call 911. I told the dispatcher that my dad was asleep and my mom was trying to wake him up, but she couldn't. Eventually, the phone call went to the living room, and my mom talked to the dispatcher. They sent an ambulance to the middle of nowhere. My dad had taken a bottle of diazepam to try to commit suicide. I remember sitting on the floor, holding his hand and repeating over and over that I loved him. The ambulance came and took him to the hospital. Lights and sirens the whole way. We didn't know what happened during that time, but we found out a day or so later, and that is when our world changed. I am very sure if I did not call 911 that night, that my dad would have succeeded, and it would have probably have drove my mom over the edge as well. And I have no idea why I didn't want to stay that night at my nanny's. I just had that feeling that I needed to go home. And here is one last gut instinct entry I'll share that has 3 very good examples of this strange phenomenon. This is from Satan's Wife 13. When I was about 8 in 1985, an old El Camino pulled up alongside my friend and I, with a man saying he knew my mom. He did know her name, but something felt off, so I grabbed my friend and ran. When we told my mom, she went white and called the cops. Turns out, this guy thought my mom had stolen his job at the steel mill she worked at the time and wanted to hurt her. He already had a warrant out for nearly killing his wife that morning. When I was 16, my mom had a terrible feeling about an outing some friends and I were going on. Hindsight being 20/20, it was a stupid move for me to go anyway, but I did. Long story short, there was a car accident. My 2 best friends died, and I nearly did. It'll be 30 years in November. I still regret getting in that car every day. My friends might still be alive if I hadn't. My mom had that mama Spidey sense. She still does. More recently, I was at our other house in the country with my oldest son and his wife and kids. There was a break in the storms, and my son decided to go home instead of spending the night. I was filled with dread at the thought of them going home so late, since we were dealing with intermittent but severe storms. So much dread that I started crying and begging them not to leave. Thankfully, they agreed. We all started home the next morning, with them following me and my husband. We came up on this stretch of road that we know has no lights at night to see police barricading a washed-out bridge and cranes retrieving cars. We all piled out of our cars to ask the officers what happened. Apparently, there were several cars that had kept going, not knowing the bridge was out. The lone survivor in the first car had told the police that they went off the bridge at about 9:30 p.m. That's about the same time my son wanted to leave. My husband just looked at me, and my boy hugged me extra tight because he knew what could have happened. Okay, for the next half of this episode, it is the next day, and it is now raining very hard, randomly. So if you hear that, and the audio sounds a little different, and I sound a little more chipper, like I got actual sleep, then that is why. Just wanted to give a heads up for any of you who are you eagle-eyed listeners. Eagle-eared listeners? I don't know. Do eagles have very good ears? I'm not sure. But now, for something a little different. Longtime listeners of the show may remember when I covered the third man syndrome, where wilderness explorers will swear that an extra person was with them while they went through a harrowing ordeal while hiking or sailing, but then, when the danger has passed, they realize that person doesn't exist and didn't exist. Well, this next quick story may have a little something to do with that phenomenon. This is from an Ask Reddit from 7 months ago that is titled, "What is the most scariest but still unexplained thing that you have experienced?" And user Yugen Dolly replied, "The night before my birthday in 1996, I dreamed that I was walking around near the peak of Everest. It was snowing hard, but I was quite comfortable. There was a tent. To announce my presence, I sang Goober Peas. The two men inside were frightened, and I tried to calm and cheer them. I stayed with them a while and comforted them. A few years later, I read about the Everest disaster in which mountaineers had to pitch a tent too high on Everest and died there, the night before my birthday in 1996. I can't explain it, but I hope I comforted them." And a reply by user Maya Papaya 102 said, "Sounds like you were the third man in third man syndrome." And of course, a lot of the comments were also discussing astral projection, whether astral projection is real. The original poster said that they don't know how to do that, if they tried, and is it something that just happens? What are dreams? Are dreams visiting different dimensions? All the high strangeness type things that I just absolutely adore. And if you're new here, we explore all kinds of different weird stuff here. This isn't just a ghost channel. So I get into some of the more on the edges stuff. I'm really into how science, talks about how time isn't linear. I really love the combination of the paranormal and actual science. And again, how time isn't linear, the idea of different dimensions, the exploration of those ideals and things like that. And to grab a hold of this thread and pull a little, I have some more examples from the same Ask Reddit that are of my favorite type of high strangeness, a time slip. This is by Bearded Sawyer. In 1989, I was driving on a familiar rural highway in broad daylight. I was rounding an easy bend and shocked to see a small town on the right side of the road. There's a sign, St. Vincent. A few of the things immediately noticeable were a shop called Webster Welding, an old-fashioned horse-drawn water pump for firefighting, several large poplars with dead tops, and black and white painted rocks along the street that faced the highway. I kept watching in the rearview mirror, and it stayed visible. I drive a few miles and there is a gentleman waving at me from beside his car. He's obviously broken down and I pulled over. A quick chat and I learn he's blown a tire and wrecked his rim. He asks if I'll drive him back to the town. No problem. In he gets and off we go. The town is not there. It's a dusty Alberta crossroad. This fellow and I just sat in my truck in silence. I raised an arm and my hair was standing on end. His too. He said, all the trees were dead. Are we dead? Eventually, I drove him to a nearby town. He simply got out of the truck and walked away. I remember it like it was yesterday. I could tell you what that town looked like in perfect detail. Of course, I would not leave you hanging without some clarification from the replies. Perrier Solis asked, this one freaked me out. So, both of you registered there was a town there, then the town was gone, and you were both so endowed with fear you spent the rest of the ride in silence, and then they just left? What? And then Bearded Sawyer said, yes, exactly. We both saw it, but him much earlier than myself because he had blown a tire. That point was key to not really talking to each other. Whatever had happened, our visions of the town were 50 minutes apart. And someone else in the replies asked, oh, this is by K8 Vant, said, wow, that's so creepy. Have you looked up St. Vincent since? I'm also from Alberta and saw it on Google Maps. Is it anything like you remember? And Bearded Sawyer said, look on Google Maps and find the Genesee power plant. There's an abandoned gas station to the south, on the left of the highway. When I saw St. Vincent, it was on the next intersection to the south and right of that. Edit. The guy I picked up was just before the Hutterite colony. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I love that story. Just a missing town. I've heard frequent stories like that, people driving through towns and then they're just not there. And they were clearly very old-timey. If you want to hear more of those, I think I did a whole episode on time slips back in the day, if you want to hear that. And friends of mine, or listeners, I like to call you friends, why not? We're friends. From Canada, specifically Alberta, do you have any idea what St. Vincent was some old... Does anybody have pictures of it back in the day? Did it look like that? I'm so curious. Before we get to our grand finale, here's a little interlude about prophetic dreams. By the way, I set this episode up a little differently in little sections of different types of things, different categories of danger and strangeness and, different, events. I don't know what you'd call it. So please let me know if you like this format. I'm liking it so far. I feel like it keeps me more organized and I like going from topic to topic in this way. But I'm not the listener, so I refer to you to let me know if you like this little setup. So, okay, prophetic dreams. This is from Dirty Birds Rise Up. My father is very religious. He does not believe in ghosts, aliens, anything supernatural or out of the ordinary. To this day, if this story is brought up, he will quickly find something else to talk about. My dad, younger brother, and I were at my family's hunting camp, sleeping in the small trailer together on bunk beds. It was the day after Christmas, and it was chilly outside, so we got to bed early to wake up for hunting. In the middle of the night, my dad wakes up and starts screaming like he's being attacked. He then immediately began sobbing. This is the only time I've ever seen or heard my father cry. When he calmed down, his terrified sons asked what happened. He said he'd had a terrible nightmare about an endless surge of water that was sweeping families away and drowning children. I recall he said those words specifically. To have my dad tell me about a dream was strange in and of itself. You must understand, all of this was completely out of character. Finally, I asked if we were drowned in his dream because at this point, I was sure there was some meaning to this vision. He said no, and that all of the people looked Chinese. Now, let me preface by saying, we did not have internet access on our cell phones at this time, and we did not have any access to TV or news at our hunting property. Well, this was the morning of December 26th, 2004. The very day a massive earthquake struck Asia, which caused a tsunami, which in turn took the lives of nearly 228,000 people. I still believe in some kind of collective consciousness because of this event. How could I not? So the replies, that's chilling in and of itself. But the replies made it even more interesting. Like this one, from One Dimensional Chess. This gave me chills because a similar thing happened to me during the 2011 tsunami that hit Japan. The day it was happening, I was asleep, Eastern Standard Time. No TV or radio was on in my home, but I had a very vivid dream that I was on a beach. The architecture was Japanese, business signs were in Japanese, and everyone was Asian in my dream. A giant wave crashed through everything. I remember trying to help a little girl, but couldn't, and we were just swept away. When I woke up in a cold sweat and went to work, people were talking about the tsunami. I've only told that story to about 3 people, because I feel people will think I'm crazy or making it up. And that reply had its own reply from MickGinger09. Okay, WTF, back around that time I had the same dream twice, but I never until now thought about a connection to a tsunami. Anyway, in the dream I'm driving over this bridge in Asia and water washes us off the bridge. Then I wake up. This is wild. And more replies. This is from Kumbai Na. This happened to me. I had a vivid, not unusual for me, dream about running frantically along a beach promenade, screaming to other people to run and trying desperately to cling to the beaches, and huge waves crashed over us and receded. Then getting up and sprinting again to the next point of safety where we could cling to something. When I woke up, I didn't recall the dream immediately, but walked into the living room where my parents were watching breaking news about the tsunami in Japan, and it struck me so intensely that I'd just seen something exactly like that, and the dream came rushing back. And another one, ANP_FJ. This is the same story with my aunt. She lives in Germany. She dreamed of people drowning and got worried because my family was traveling to Phuket the next day. She called, but my mother told her we had already postponed our trip by 2 weeks because of my school schedule. Within that week, tsunami at Phuket happened. 220,000 people died. My aunt only called us one other time, and she was right on that one too, and I shit you not, it was 9/11. That's not our only 9/11 one. Here is from Cheshire Cat 7. The same night, Australian time, that 9/11 was happening, I dreamed about 2 flagpoles standing next to each other, which were both flying, burning American flags. And another one, Morgana LaFay, 125. I had spent the night at a friend's house. We just drank and played video games. We woke up the next morning and she said she had the weirdest dream about being in a city and the tallest of tall buildings are on fire and just melting. She talked about how vivid it was. We turned on the TV about the time the second plane hit on 9/11. We both just stared, jaws on the floor. She never wanted to talk about it after that. If I brought it up, she would loudly change the subject. Now, those were all interesting. We've had some fun here today. A lot of fun, a lot of mystery and different dimensions, possibly time slips, prophetic dreams, gut instincts, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And now I'm about to ruin it all. This was originally posted in the Confession subreddit, but has since been deleted. I can't read you the comments or anything because, again, deleted. And trigger warnings for this one. I always put the trigger warnings in the episode notes, but just in case, for anyone who has any sort of trigger around contamination, maybe my shout out contamination OCD people out there, and parasites. This is Parasite Man. My obsession hurts others around me. It's also my fetish, but it goes far deeper than that. I'll try to explain the obsession the best I can by explaining how it started. Basically, when I was young, I caught pinworms. It was a strange feeling, and the itch was painful. My parents took me to the doctor, and I got medication to cure it. This event is what sparked my obsession. The thought that my body could be their whole world, their lifeline, almost a planet of sorts. It was so interesting. After that, I began researching pinworms and other parasites, and I found out the human body already hosts parasites, such as Demodex, on their eyelashes. And I wanted to know how many a human body could endure without a chance of serious health issues. This curiosity has plagued my mind for years. I'm now 25, but I'm also very well versed in parasites, as I have been studying them for over 10 years. I also purposely infect myself with non-lethal parasites because it's part of a fetish of mine. Some have worked better than others. Quite a few have given me serious diarrhea and fevers, while others have been much more bearable. I currently have pinworms and tapeworms, various non-pathogenic protozoa, and pubic lice. I am incredibly masochistic, so although it's uncomfortable, I do feel pleasure from it. All these parasites mean I need to eat a lot more than the average person, and I still look thin. And to be quite honest, it means I can enjoy so much more food than most people. I also keep multiple cultures of bedbugs and leeches in containers and allow them to feed on my blood sometimes. Although those kinds are not really my passion, as they do not live primarily on the human body. But I think they're interesting nonetheless, and I find them pretty cute. Now, it's time for the confession. My obsession and fetish isn't just about infecting myself anymore. I also have the desire to infect others, and I have acted on those desires. Sometimes my parasites just pioneer to new lands on their own. My family have caught pinworms multiple times without my intention, and other times I purposely spread them. I have infected strangers, friends, and even my own family. I know it's bad, but I just can't stop. I think I have parasites in my brain that makes me feel like I need to spread them. I know how crazy that sounds, but if you knew the feeling, you'd understand. Maybe it's just a mental illness, or maybe its origin is parasitic in nature. I really don't know. All I know is it feels good when I do these things. I feel an intense need to spread my children, and when I do, I feel pleasure. I must have spread thousands of my children over the years. I sometimes sprinkle tapeworm eggs into people's drinks when I'm out at clubs. I also caught pubic lice from sex with a random woman I met at the same club, and in return, I'm pretty sure I gave her pinworms, so it was a trade. The woman wasn't even attractive. I just wanted to gift her some pinworms, and instead I basically won the jackpot by sleeping with her. I then spread my pubic lice to at least 4 other women. Sometimes I also sprinkle worm eggs onto food in buffets whenever I visit them. Yes, I understand. You would think it's gross and messed up. I am basically betraying my species for my children. It's hard. I do enjoy people, and I have wonderful friends and family, but I also love my parasites, and my fetish is just too hard to control. I don't want to hurt anyone when I do these things, but a force beyond my understanding is driving me to do it. I think I could possibly have a parasite in my brain that has not yet been discovered. I'm sorry to all the people I have caused discomfort to, but it's for a cause beyond human understanding. Although this all can be justifiable, I still feel guilt. I don't want to hurt anyone. I hope the people I spread my gifts to can find it in their hearts to be a little more open-minded and not kill my children, but learn to live with them like I have instead. I'm aware how strange and disgusting others will find me if they knew. I'm aware of how immoral this seems to most people. I assume you may see me in a negative light after reading this, but remember, I only want what's best for my children, and if you were truly in my shoes, I'm sure you would do the same. So, anyone want to go to Sizzler and check out that salad bar? To be fair, this could possibly and probably is fake. A lot of the comments on the reposted version of this said that pinworm eggs are incredibly tiny. You can't, like, spread them places. I don't know. You know, there are a lot of weird fetishes out there. Sorry to kink shame. This one I think I have the go-ahead to say it's weird. But yeah, there are some weird ones out there, so I could see it. I don't know about actually spreading them, but who knows? It's Reddit. We'll never know. And this one's been deleted, so I can't even research the original author. So, thought I'd leave you with that note. I'm sorry. But thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Dark Reddit. If you'd like this show, you can follow it on social media at scareyoutosleep. If you'd like to follow me personally, you can follow me at Shelby B. Novak. Oh, by the way, thank you so much to those of you who went to Instagram, because the show's account is now at 10,000 subscribers or followers, whatever they're called on Instagram. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I saw that. I think I hit it yesterday or the day before, something like that. I really just wholeheartedly appreciate all of you doing that. It was really kind of you. So thank you. You can also follow the show on all the other stuff like Blue Sky, Facebook, all those others. Instagram, I was so close. And so I just called a little rally for people to follow me if you hadn't heard. And, it's a dumb game we're playing, but I didn't invent the game, but I got to play by the rules. And hopefully this 10,000 will get me some more cool opportunities and it'll be great. So once again, thank you. But you can, if you'd like to submit a story to be on the show or consider to be on the show, you can send to scareyoutosleep@gmail.com. I've started reaching out to a few people who submitted over the last few months, so look out for those emails. And if you'd like ad-free episodes, you can join Patreon, patreon.com/scareyoutosleep for, again, ad-free episodes and bonus episodes. And you can follow me also if you'd like more content from me. You can go to the Bloody Disgusting podcast and check that out for all of your horror news and horror hot seat. We do this fun thing called Horror Hot Seat every week where we do, fun exercises where we're who would you rather be in the paranormal activity house or the grudge house, stuff like that, and it's a lot of fun. And we have guests, and I just did a really cool interview that came out Friday, and so check that out. And yeah, it's been a blast. And we read all of we play voicemails and listener emails and stuff on the air. So if you have if you've ever had horror movie questions for me, and I don't talk about horror movies much here, then that is the place to go. Oh, speaking of voicemails, I'm going to be doing a voicemail full episode soon. And for those new listeners, it's like a Q&A. So if you'd like to leave me a voicemail, the phone number is in the show notes. You can also leave me an anonymous question, the anonymous question form, also in the show notes. Or you can go to my link tree. It's link.tree? I don't know how to do the link tree, but it's /scareyoutosleep. And the submission form is there. I will be reading a few of the questions I got on that NGL thing, but I will do a separate bonus episode for Patreon. Hello, my Patreon patrons, where I go through NGL. I still haven't decided whether or not to read some of the grosser ones. I don't know. We'll see. That might be like an after dark super bonus episode that I charge a lot of money for, because it's honestly, some of them are so pearl clutching. I haven't decided yet. That'll be exclusive VIP content. I don't know. Anyway. What else? I think that's all. Check out the Bloody Disgusting podcast. Send in your voicemails. And for the voicemail episode, you can ask questions, you can leave comments, you can just say something, you can try to scare me. A lot of people try to scare me. And yeah. Oh, international listeners. Whew. I know some of you have a hard time calling the phone number, but if you'd like to also leave a voicemail, you can email me an MP3 with your, quote unquote little fake voicemail. Try to keep it under 3 minutes. I will cut it off if it's over 3 minutes. Sorry. It's just the voicemail only goes to 3 minutes. So it's only fair to only give you guys 3 minutes too. So you can send that to me. I've done it before. I've had people do that before. So you can email me an MP3 with your voicemail. Please let me know that it is a voicemail. I got something recently that was like an MP4 file. I think it's a video, and they tried to make it really creepy. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to open that. I'm just letting you know right now. Same thing on Instagram. If Instagram kind of does the thing where they don't reveal the picture. You have to click on the picture to reveal it. I'm not going to open it. I'm sorry. I've gotten too many like gross, weird shit, dick pics mostly. I'm not going to. If you send me like a random picture on social media, and especially if Instagram does the thing like you have to click to open it, I'm not going to. Just protecting my own peace, my own eyes. And so if you send me a video, I probably won't open it. It's just not, I have internet safety. In fact, there was a whole thread on Reddit where people were saying that there was a guy going around leaving links to certain disturbing things, but he would bury it in like something that looked like, here's some fun facts about wolves, and then have a link at the bottom that you think is like pictures of wolves, and it was not. It was really bad. So, just protecting my peace. And yeah, so I think that's it. I think that's all for today. Have I spoken to you since Easter? I don't believe I have. I can tell you my coconut cake, or pina colada cake, went fantastically. I ended up making a coconut creme patissier for the center. So good. So good. It was, oh my God. I think the creme patissier was everyone's favorite part of the cake, which is fine with me. In fact, I had a little bit left over, and people were like just eating it like pudding, basically, which it kind of is a pudding. But so yeah, I made a coconut creme patissier. Very easy for something that sounds so fancy. It's pastry cream in English, but I like saying it in French because it sounds so fancy. And yeah, that went really well. I smoked some chuck roasts for like 7 or 8 hours on my parents' Traeger. That's one thing I like about visiting, is they have a backyard and I can barbecue. I can't barbecue here where I'm at. So obviously, don't want to burn down the building. But I had a lot of fun doing that. Had a great time seeing family. And yeah, did I mention at the top of the show? Yeah, I've just been really tired. I've taken on a lot of new projects away from this show, and I've overloaded myself a little bit, but I don't have any regrets because, gotta make money, gotta work. And a lot of the projects are really fun, creative projects. So they're actually projects I really believe in and are excited about. But I've just, I've stacked my deck kind of high at the moment. So I had a little bit of a burnout week, not gonna lie. I had a couple days there. And I like January numbers for podcasts, by the way. If you're getting into podcasts and you're starting to monetize, January is like one of the worst months of the year, monetization wise. So I had a really bad January. Then I had all this stuff happen for like, it was like a quadruple. You know what? I'm going to talk about this in a ramble for Patreon because some of you don't care. And you'll let me know in the comments too on Spotify. I've seen them. I read them. I've seen you don't care. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to do a ramble for Patreon. We're going to talk more about my week and stuff. And I really appreciate the comments I've been getting about the rambles on Patreon. Sometimes I really feel like I'm talking into a void. And I've received a few messages recently out of the blue. It's like the universe knew I needed to hear some good, nice things. And it was like, some people really love the rambles. And a lot of you liked the last one because I did it on video. I had both the video or just the audio was available too. But a lot of you liked the video. So I'll probably do that again. And yeah. So I'll see you over there on Patreon. All right. Well, go drink your water. Please put on sunscreen. Be mindful when eating from a buffet this weekend, and go get some sleep. Sweet dreams.